We got it. Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Okay, back again. This this Shabbos is Parshas Shoftim. It's always Parshas Shoftim is always the first Shabbos in Elul. Always. I remember when I first came to yeshiva in Elul, it was the first Shabbos I spent a little over 65 years ago, but it wasn't so bad. It was great. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful Shabbos. Anyway, I spent in the yeshiva. And I was accepted in the yeshiva, which made it even better. Okay, so Shoftim v'Shoftim titein lecha b'chol sha'arecha. That's the way the parsha begins. Shoftim, judges. Shotrim, we'll call them enforcers, not policemen, right? But enforcers. Titein lecha b'chol sha'arecha. You should place at all your gates. So the obvious question is, why does it say B'chol Sharecha? I mean, how many gates does a city have? One, maybe two, right? But what's the B'chol Sharecha? So this you have to know. The Chachmei HaEmes, that's the Bali Kabbalah that I know nothing about, but I've heard from my Rabbeim. They teach us that the world, creation, is divided into three realms. And that's referred to as Olam, Shana, and Nefesh, which means time, space, and the human being. Olam is space. Shana is time. And Nefesh is the person, is the individual. So each one of these categories, Olam, Shana, and Nefesh, has a gate. And it is through those gates that one enters into the inner realm of the Kedusha that is specific to that particular category, through this gate. So the gate to enter the dimension of Olam, space, means the Kedusha, Samakim, and that, of course, was the Beis HaMikdash. As Yaakov Avinu said, Ein zeh ki'im Beis Elokim, v'zeh sha'ar, the gate to Shamayim. So it's through the Beis HaMikdash, you walk through the Beis HaMikdash, and this we've talked about many times, about the Navi Yosef that had all his kashas, and he was almost off the derech, and in the end he said, until Ad Ava Yel Mikdashei Hashem, everything got answered. I understood it all. So the Kedusha of space was represented and was the actual entry point through the Beis HaMikdash. That's through which you reach the source of all Kedusha. From the Beis HaMikdash, everything was up. The next category is Nefesh. We'll talk about that first. The Nefesh. There are gates to the dimension of humanity, of Nefesh, of Neshama, that directs us. And it defines for us our goal and gives us the mechanism by which we can achieve the Kedusha for which we were created. Remember, we were created to attain Kedusha, to take the physical world and elevate the physical world, to take the physical world and lift it up to Kedusha. And it's done very simply, with simple actions, sometimes more complicated, but with simple actions like a bracha. You have a world of food. It's wonderful. It's great. It's delicious. It's nourishing. It's the right kinds of food, right? But it's all there, and it's all it is feeding the goof until you make a bracha. But the moment you make a bracha, you have elevated the physicality and turned it into something that will lead you to recognize that everything that we have is coming from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's the Kedusha. Rab Chaim Vital, and who has a sefer called Nachal Kedumim and the Shloah Kadosh, they all say that the human being has a number of gates. Our eyes, our ears, our mouths are the gates through which we can gain access to the internal Kedusha that is within us and takes us beyond it. So the Torah tells us, make sure to put judges there and put enforcers there to make sure that our gates are clean, pure, and leading us in the right direction. The purpose of our gates, our eyes, ears, yes, is to make sure what enters it that comes through our senses is completely fitting with the goal of attaining Dveikus B'Hashem. It's a filter, so to speak. And we have guards. There are guards of our eyes. We have things called eyelids to shut your eyes from seeing what you shouldn't be seeing. You can close your eyes. You have earlobes for your ears, stick them in. You can close your ears. What you shouldn't be hearing, you got to make sure to hear what you're only supposed to hear. And of course, our lips that guards against that which comes in that isn't correct and that which comes out that isn't correct. Keep it shut. Keep the lips shut. And that's why it says, Titein lecha. It doesn't say you should put on your, it says, Titein lecha b'chol sha'arecha. To the individual, it's us, you, me, each and every one of us. Guard your gates. But, okay. So these are our, let's say, our enforcers, right? The Shoftim. But what is the judges? What judges are we talking about? Shoftim. So the Shoftim, of course, is our seichel. The seichel, our role is to determine what's right, what's wrong, what we should do, what we shouldn't do, where we should go, where we shouldn't go, what we should look at, how do we determine that that's with our seichel? So you got to activate your seichel on all those gates. Shoftim, that's the judge. They make a judgment. You know, all judgment is referred to as shikul hadas. Shikul hadas, weighing, the intellectual weighing of what's correct and what is incorrect. Shikul hadas. To get us to our ultimate goal, which is Ani Kirvas Elokim Li Tov. Tov is the goal. Remember, I don't have to go through that again and again and again. When we talk about Tov, we're talking about something that's leading us towards our goal. We talk about Ra, which means broken, not bad. It prevents us from reaching our goal. Said the Navi Yosef, this same Navi that said, Kemat Natoyu Raglai, I almost went off the derech until I came into the Beis HaMikdash. He closes Perek Ayin Gimel, which is Kedai, to learn, not just to say, to learn it through. Because we all have the same questions that the Navi Yosef had, mainly in terms of Tzadik V'Ralo, Rosh V'Tovlo. Which brings me, of course, to say that the shir should be a Aliyas Neshama from my Mechutin. Remember, that's Judith Schreiber. Yes, her husband was Niftar on Shabbos. Yeah. And we were busy with everything that was necessary. And that was the whole thing. It was Shabbos and Sunday. And my, interestingly enough, my daughter-in-law, his daughter, left on Thursday. Oh. And she went back to America. And then with Shabbos in America, she found out and she had to right away come in back again. She's sitting Shiva? No. Yudis is sitting Shiva, yeah. They're right here. Yeah, she lives here on Tim. Yeah. So anyway, but what I'm trying to say is Ani Kirvas Elokim Litov. So that parak in Tehillim, where we say Tzadik V'Ralo, V'Rosha V'Tovlo, whenever we see things that we don't understand. We don't understand. We don't know why. We don't know how. And to us, it makes no sense. It makes no sense, simply. Yet, we have to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, only Tov. It's all good. It's all right. It's all for the good. It's all for the right purpose and moving us. Whatever happens to us, every action, every happening, every experience that we have, both positive and negative, it's leading us in the right direction. Because that's what we need. Because each and every one of us has a mission in this world. Each and every one of us was created with a mission. And then had I said the Shir on Re'eh, you would have heard me say that the Parsha says, Rei anochi nosein lifnechem hayom brocha v'klala. Blessing and a curse. Has any of you ever seen a blessing? You can't see a blessing. What does that mean? What do you mean you see a blessing? You see the outcome of a blessing, but has any of you seen electricity? Never seen electricity. But you sure know what it does. You ever seen gravity? You can't see gravity, but you see what it does. So you don't see a bracha. You don't see a klola. Answer, it's not the bracha or the klola that we're talking about. We're talking about that the true bracha is when a person fulfills their mission. Can you imagine living life, a whole life, and waking up at the end of one's life and say, I didn't accomplish what I was supposed to accomplish. I did not accomplish it. That's sad. Sad. It's heartbreaking. It's the most horrific klola that you can imagine. But if somebody can say at the end of his life, I fulfilled my mission, there's no bigger bracha than that. Rei, nosati lachem bracha v'klola means I have given you everything you need to fulfill your mission, which is the bracha. And if you ignore it, that's the klola. That's the klola. Ignore what I've given you to fulfill your mission. That is a klola. That's the klola that you see. See all the good that you have, but if you don't see it, then what you're seeing is klola. That's an amazing thing. And that's why it says, Sher ani no sein lachem. How do you give a bracha to somebody? We say, when we use the word no sein in Lashon HaKodesh, it means it's davar hanitan liyad, something I give you. I give you a pen. I give you a note. I give you a cup. I'm giving from one thing to you, from me to you. Why does it say no sein? How do you give a bracha? It doesn't mean the words. It means all the things. He's giving me things to fulfill my mission. He's giving me things that if I pay attention to him, I have bracha. And if I don't pay attention to them, or I question them in a way that says it's not good, then that in itself is klola. So I have to weigh and measure. That's the seichel. The seichel weighs and measures. And that leads us to the next point. The Avas Sholem says like this. He quotes the Rambam. And the Rambam says, Al tomar she'ein tshuva ela me'aveira sheyesh be'em ma'aseh. Don't say that you only can do tshuva or should do tshuva on actions. Kigon, znus, immorality, gezel, thievery, gneva, stealing. Ela kishem shetzorich adam lashuv me'elu, just like you have to do tshuva from these things, kach hu tzorich lechapes badeos. So too you have to search out your deos. Now we've talked about this before. The word deo is intellect, connection, right? Adam yodas chava ishto. Connection. Talk about connection here. What? What do you mean? It means that it's called das. Das is seichel, and it's referring to midos. Why are midos? Why is the Rambam called midos das? Hilchas deos is the whole structure of what midos are, which we'll see in a minute. Why is it called deos? Because our midos, that's our desires, our feelings, our emotions. But our seichel is supposed to weigh which one is right and which one is not right. When to apply a midah and when not to apply a midah. All midas are, and that's why it's called midah, measure. What's a midah? How much, how little, when, if, should, shouldn't. That's the way it works. That's das. When you connect your das to your midos, that's the way you perform according to the correct midah. Says the Rambam, you have to check just the same way that you have to do tshuva for all the bad things the actions that you've taken. So you have to look at your midos. Sheyesh that he has. V'lashuv min hakas, and do tshuva for anger, for ava, for hatred, umin akina, jealousy, umin adifas hamamai, and making money and ending in and of itself. The hakavod, and stop looking for self-aggrandizement. The Elu Aboinais, these sins of anger, these sins of running after money and covet, these sins of hatred, jealousy, koshim, it's harder. Me'osam sheyesh b'hem ma'isa. More so than when you do an act that is incorrect. Why? Shebizman sh'adam nishka ba'elu. But the moment you become sucked into bad midos, kosher huli frosh mehem. Very hard. Very hard to give up a bad midah. The Gra says if you can change one midah in a lifetime, it's an amazing accomplishment. The Kain hu omer, Yazov Rosha Darko. The pasuk says, that's a pasuk in Yeshaya. The pasuk in Yeshaya says, Al Kain Yazov ish es Darko hara. Bad path. Doesn't say Darko Hamas. It doesn't say that you should leave your Maisim Harayim, your bad actions. It says you have to leave what? Your bad derech. What is the derech? The derech is the mechanism of how you moves you to get to what you did wrong. Al Kain Yazov Ish as Darko Hara. He doesn't say his actions that are bad, but his derech, his path. And what leads you along a path? What pushes us to function in a particular way? That's our mitos. So we've covered Makom, the Beis Hamikdash. We've covered Nefesh, which is the person. Now we come to time. And we're talking about the Kedushas Hazman. Time is holy. In fact, time is so holy, it was the first thing to be created in the physical world. Time is a physical creation. And the Gemara says, it's a Mishnah. It's a Mishnah in Avos, Basara Maimaros Nivru Olam. The world was created in 10 sayings. There were 10 sayings. So if you look in the Chumash, and count them, the times it says Vayomer Elokim, Yeyor, Vayomer Elokim Tachei Oz Desha, Vayomer Elokim Kiyah Bashomai, all of that. Doesn't only find 9 of them, you don't find 10. So why does it say 10? Says the Gemara, because Bereshis Amai Marhu. Then says the Gra, okay, very nice, I'm glad to hear. Bereshis Bar Elokim is a Shemayim V'Sa'aretz. It's a Maimar. But it says, they all ask, by the way, why doesn't it say Vayomer Elokim Shamayim V'Oretz? So yes, Shamayim V'Oretz. It's very interesting because the word Vayomer means you speak to. If there was nothing to speak to. It was only after there was something that there was something to speak to. So therefore, it didn't have a Vayomer, but you can't talk to it. So what was created with the Bereshis Bar Elokim Es Shamayim V'Oretz? Time. Time is a physical reality. There's no time up there. There's no past, there's no future, there's no present. It's all beyond time. V'malo me'azman. There is the concept of time. That's a wonderful thing, to be connected to such a thing. So we have our lives are run with cycles of time. So, for example, we have the cycle of a day. We have a day. You know when the day begins and the day ends. It's a cycle. Every day. It's a new cycle. I've always mentioned this, that, it says, Mechadesh b'tuvel b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh bereshis. We said that we have a mission to do, each and every one of us. Every day has its own mission. It's a new day, a different day. And I'll prove it to you. Every morning you wake up, you say, Shalom Asani Goy. You make the bracha Shalom Asani Goy, right? Said it yesterday. Nochri. You Yekis. Anyway, Nochri, Shalom Asani Goy. That's because they were worried about the Goy.
The habits I hard to give up.
Oh, it's okay. It's the same thing. Did anything change between yesterday and today? Today. Is today? Are you a Nachri today? No, nothing changed. Or I say Shalom Asani Isha, and I guarantee you, nothing is. Well, in the world, you never know today. But Shelo Asani Goy, Lo Asani Nochri, Lo Asani Oved. Nothing changed. Why do I say it again today? Yesterday I said it. You know why? Because today I have to acknowledge that I am not a Goy. I am not a Nochri. I am not an Eved. I am not whatever. I am not. Why? Because that's new day. It's a new mission. It's a new existence every day. So that's one cycle. Then there's a cycle. How long does that last? 24 hours. Then there's another cycle. There's a week, 7 days. And there's Shabbos. That's the cycle. It repeats itself. Then we have a month, 30 days, 29 days, right? Then we even have a year, a whole year. There's a beginning of the year, and there's an end to the year. You'll look in all of Chumash, you'll not find one reference except once to the beginning and end of the year. There's no Rosh Hashanah. The Yom Tov is not. It's called Yom Chua, Yom Zikaron, Yom Adin, maybe, not even Chumash. What's this Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of a year? Says there's one place. And that was what, if I said the Shir on Parshas, if you would have heard. Eretz Asher Hashem Elokecha Doresh Osa. This is a land. This land is the land that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is concerned with. Tomid, constantly. Einei Hashem Elokecha Ba. His eyes are on it. Mereishis Shana ad Achris Shana. Beginning of the year to the end of the year. That's the only time it mentions Rosh Hashanah. Now, if Rosh Hashanah, first day of Tishrei, is the beginning of the year, when is the end of the year? Elul. Now, we are in Elul. Elul. I remember when I came to Yeshiva, and I was there already for a year, and we had, then we were at Kiddush HaChodesh, and the Chazan called, Reish Chodesh Elul. Rebel Yelapian Zachar Tzaddik Livrocha, my Rebbe, you could see him physically trembling. It's Elul. So what is Elul? What is it about Elul? What's interesting is that the Kedusha of a week is at the end, Shabbos. The Kedusha of a Chodesh is when? The beginning, Rosh Chodesh. The Kedusha of a year is both at the beginning and at the end. Elul is not just to be looked upon as a time of mere, getting ready. Here is a time that we have been given by HaKadosh Baruch Hu for us to make our beginning of the year into something very, very special. Properly, to relate to Rosh Hashanah. Elul is the process. It's a circle, it's a cycle, correct? Now, what's beautiful about a circle is wherever you are on the circle, wherever you begin, is right next to where you end. They're together. Beginning point and end point. Come around. That's our lives. We're going back to where we came from. And Elul and Rosh Hashanah are next to each other. Elul and Tishrei are next to each other. The beginning of the year is in Tishrei, and the end of the year begins with Elul. Now, what is it about this time? What is it? So I'll tell you, it's very interesting. One other point I was giving the shiur. It was like this. I just have to rub it in, that. There's another cycle that I have mentioned. Talked about a day and a month and a year. Well, the Shemitah, but that's only Nogei Eretz Yisrael. And even most of us don't know what year it is in the Shemitah, do we? Because we don't live by it, because we know that they're going to deal with it at the store. unless you have a garden. Okay, but right, like I have, yes, I have a garden. And so then you know a little bit about Shemitah. Yovel, you certainly don't know anything about because we don't have Yovel anymore. So, but there's another set of cycles. And those cycles are a 7-week cycle. The first one is Sphira. You count Sphira from when we left Mitzrayim till Kabbalah Satira. And the other is the Shiva Dinachemta, where we're in right now. After Tisha B'Av, there are 7 weeks. Yes, that bring us to Rosh Hashanah. That's what the Shiva Dinachemta, 7 weeks of consolation. But it's more than that, because both of them, both Sphira and the Shiva Dinachemta, are times of preparation. One prepares us for Kabbalah HaTorah, Sphira, and one prepares us for the Yom Adin Rosh Hashanah. That's what we are right now experiencing. And time, as I said, time is, we don't understand it. Originally, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, he didn't expect, he didn't want it, let's put it this way, to last 5,700, 6,000 years, whatever. He only created 6 days. Because it says, Ki, you say it every Shabbos, twice on Shabbos. Ki, because Sheishes Yomim Bara Elokim Es HaShamayim V'Sorch. He created 6 days. It doesn't say B'Sheishes Yomim, within 6 days, with 6 days. In the course of 6 days, it took 6 days to create Shamayim V'Oretz. It doesn't say that. Not Ki B'Sheishes Yomim Asa Hashem Es HaShamayim V'Oretz. It says Ki Sheishes Yomim. That's all he did. He created 6 days, and Shabbos had Adam Arisha not sinned, everything would have gone straight into Shabbos. Now, after he sins, we have it again and again and again, and every Shabbos allows us to have another 6 days. So when we're celebrating our Shabbos, we're functioning in Shabbos. We're Shabbosing at my Rebbe Zechar Nebracha Rav Hutner. Would always refer to himself during the week. Ich bin a Shabbos dike Yid. I'm a Shabbos dike Jew. I'm Shabbos. I'm beyond the time. I go beyond it. I don't want to be part of this physical world. I mean, as long as Hashem keeps me here, I want to be here because that's the way I get to that world ultimately. You know, we've said this many times. This world is called Olam HaZeh. So what should that world be called? Olam HaHu. Why do we call it Olam Haba? Because the only way to get to Olam HaHu is through Olam HaZeh. So it's Olam Haba me Olam HaZeh. That's why we're here. We get to beyond time. We get to beyond time. All right, so the next question is, if that's the case, how does Elul prepare us for Rosh Hashanah? How? What's the mechanism to prepare? So one of the ways is if you go to shul in the morning, they blow the shofar. So the Torah brings, why do we blow the shofar? Because just as when Moshe Rabbeinu went up on Rosh Chodesh Elul to the top of the mountain to receive the second luchos, which he received on Yom Kippur, they blew the shofar. They blew a shofar. Why did they blow a shofar? The reason, says the Torah, that they blew the shofar was to warn the people not to make the same mistake again. The first time Moshe went up, they made a terrible error. They built an ego. Don't make the mistake again. Don't do it again. But how does blowing a shofar prevent Klal Yisrael from doing Avodah Zarah? I mean, you go through all of Tanakh, there was a lot of Avodah Zarah going on. I mean, it's scary to think about it, but it's true. Rahman al-Itzlan. We never see anywhere in Tanakh that they blew a shofar to stop it. So how is this? What's going on here? So the purpose here is to understand what the shofar is. What the shofar does, it breaks habit and it breaks routine. It's a wake-up call, as the Rambam says. It wakes us up to be aware, to be focused. Me'elul va'elech choradeti el Hashem. And I have to point out over here this, every year I mention this, but it bothers me so much. There's a term that is used in the Israeli press and in the all over the place, even among us. Haredim. You heard that? And they say it with such disdain. Haredim. Well, if you think that the people that throw stones and the people that make demonstrations are Haredim, you're mistaken. And it doesn't matter how big your payas are and what kind of a hat you wear. That's not what Haredim is. The word chared means to be focused. A charedi, a true charedi, is focused on doing Ratzon Hashem. That's all. Not to make political statements. That's what a charedi is. Kichorad, where do you see it? You see it by Elisha. Elisha and the Gehazi, when the tsunamis did all these wonderful things. So he said, Ma kol ha'charada hazo she'asisa lanu. What does that mean? What's the nervousness here? What it means is you were so focused to make sure that all our needs are taken care of. The first time that they blew the shofar at Babel Sinai, it also uses the word chared. So when you hear the word charedi, don't think of the external. Think of people who are committed to doing Ratzon Hashem and to being Mekadosh Shem Shomar. So that's one thing. The shofar is there to turn you into a Haredi. It doesn't matter what you think or what you want, what you are assuming a Haredi is. It's to turn you Haredi, meaning Chorad al Dvar Hashem. I am focused on doing what Hashem wants me to do. Then, says the Torah, there's another thing that happened with the shofar. The other thing that happened with the shofar is Allah Elokim B'Yisroel Hashem B'Kol Shofar. Hashem, Allah Elokim, he went up, became higher, greater. I don't know what that means exactly yet, we'll see. Allah Elokim B'Yisroel, with the sound of the truah of the shofar, he went up. Hashem B'Kol Shofar. Hashem with the sound of the shofar. So how do you elevate Hashem? Any thoughts? How can you elevate Hashem? Can't elevate Hashem. He's the highest of the high. And you can't go any higher. And you can't go any greater. You can't get any bigger. You can't get any better. You can't get... He's Hashem. So what does it mean? Allah Elokim B'Yisroel. So some of the Mefarshim learned that he gets up from the Kisei Din and sits on the Kisei Rachamim. Allah, with the shofar. You blow the shofar, if it works, if you allow it to work, then Hashem has compassion. Allah Elokim B'Yisroel. Hashem Rachamim Kol Shofar. But there's another explanation that I think is 100% valid. I heard this from Rabbi Shapiro. I'm sorry?
Who gives the commentary back to say not into Kisei Rachamim?
Who? All the Rishonim. That's all Rishonim. They all talk about it. This. Anyone that talks about this pasuk will talk about the moves from Kisei. That's the Rishonim. But I heard from Rav Moshe a different Nakuda with all the king. You know what? Allah Elokim. The word God. God. That's the Rabbi Shalom we're talking about, right? Yeah. How many times you say thank God in this world? God, God, God. It's another word. It's a word in the dictionary. Look it up. You'll see. G-O-D. It's God. I don't know in what language. Maybe in your English it's different. I'm picking on her today. She knows why. God. What's God? It's a word in the dictionary. Not only is it a word dictionary, but it's also up for debate. People debate it. Herr God, nicht God. Is there, isn't there? God, God. Oh, God. Allah Elokim B'Yisroel means that Hashem is elevated in our eyes. We don't look at him anymore as a word in the dictionary. We now realize how serious this is. Oh, Elokim B'Yisroel, when he blows the shofar and I hear the shua and I get all shook up. God now becomes more than just a word. It's a reality. Hashem B'Kol Shofar. But when you hear the Midas HaRachamim, it's all right. One is Machamim, one is Din, that's fine. It's all Elokim. The awesomeness of Hashem is elevated in our eyes, and we see how merciful He is to us and how grateful we have to be. God is not just a word. People get nervous with the term God. I remember, this is a personal story. I remember many years ago when I was a principal in Savannah, Georgia. So I had an amazing president. He was must have been 60, 65 years old at the time, and I thought he was very old. Today, I think he's like a youngster. But then he was like very old. I was a young principal in the 70s. Okay. And he wasn't from, that's the show. He wasn't a Shomer Shabbos. Multi-millionaire. And he never went past the 6th grade in school. Multi. How? He had a trucking business that delivered fruit across the entire South and probably the entire United States. And he made a lot of money. And he was a Jew at heart. You know what I mean? I mean, he really was. He was caring about Jewish things, the school. You know what I'm talking about. That kind of a wonderful yid, and he was. Actually, his granddaughter lives here in Ramat Beit Shemesh. That's why I'm not mentioning it. But I'm not mentioning it anyway. But we used to have. I had a date with him. You have to understand how this works. I had a date with him every Erev Yom Kippur. I date. We used to go to the mikveh together. Now there you got to be honest, right? That's there are no, there's not you can't put on any airs in the mikveh. You are what you are. So I turned to him. I said, you know what? Maybe it's about time you became a Shomer Shabbos. And he looked at me and he says, you know something? I sure enough want to be. But I know when you bring God into your life, things start happening. And I'm scared. That's what he said to me. The term God, when you talk about the Rabbeinu Shalom, we have been so brainwashed to think that, it's that power, what's going to happen to me? Well, things start happening when God comes into your life. Yeah, and I said to him, I smiled, I said, yeah, and lots of good things too. Good things happen. Focus on the good. This is what I'm trying to get at. People have to take the Rabbeinu Shalom really seriously. And the shofar is an amazing, powerful thing. In fact, it says, we say it, Ashrei Yodei Srua, when they blow the shofar. How validated is this nation, meaning Klal Yisrael? Yodei Srua, they know the Trua. What does it mean? They know how to blow the shofar? Louis Armstrong blew a better horn than our chauffeur. Really, he did. I mean, he's a talented guy. What do you mean, Ashrei Yodei Srua? They know. Yodei means, remember, not just to know, but to be connected to what? To the Trua. Yodei Trua. Now, the word Trua, you know what the Shomer says the word Trua is? Ra. Ra. But now Ra doesn't mean bad. Ra means broken. How does the Trua go? It's a broken coal. Broken coal. A coal that moves you and breaks you and connects. And it goes even further than that. And every chuppah, what do we say? Sameach tesamach, reim ho'ahuvim. Why are they called reim? Ra? No. They were connected, separated, and now they're coming back together again. Reus ve'ohavta le'reacha kamocha. Ra? It's not bad. It's connected. That which needs to be connected. Oh, Yodei Trua. who know that through the shofar we become connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is Elul. This is the whole, this helps us. When we blow the shofar every single day in shul, at least supposed to go to shul, so then we're taking the time seriously. You know, the Yom Hadin, Yom Hadin, the big day of judgment, yes? Where in the Chumash does it say anything about Yom Hadin? Doesn't. No mention. What is Rosh Hashanah called? Yom Truah. That's what Hashem wants on Rosh Hashanah. Not that I should sit there and say, and so I can't. And I'm paralyzed with guilt. I become paralyzed with not with the inability of moving forward. No. Yom Truah. It's a day where Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu are really totally connected. Avram Avinu. Amazing. He was told not to sacrifice Yitzchak. That's afterwards. Not to sacrifice it. So what does he do? He goes right away looking for a replacement. Right? Now let's be honest. If it were you or me or anyone else besides Avram Avinu, and Hashem tells us to sacrifice the child, and then all of a sudden he tells me don't. What do I say? Oh, thank God. Thank you, Rabbi Nishman. You're so good. Thank you so much. You're so merciful. You're so wonderful. Who's going to look for a replacement? You're so overwhelmed with it. No, that wasn't Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu's test was not if he would sacrifice Yitzchak. Sorry, it's a mistake. Because he had no choice in that. If Hashem wanted to take Yitzchak, he would have taken him whether he liked it or not. He says, I have no control over that. But what I do have control is listening to what Hashem says. So what does he do? Vayivaka es atzeola. He himself, he was a very wealthy man. He had lots of servants. And he goes ahead and takes an axe and starts breaking up wood for the Mizbeach. Vayivaka atzeola. You know where else it says Vayivaka? Akriyas Yamsuf. Vayivku amayim. In the schus of Avram Avinu, being a participant, doing what Hashem said, putting himself in the position of doing something that he doesn't want to do, and he doesn't understand why. But he didn't ask why. But he said, you promised. He could have said, you promised me that I would have children and only through Yitzchak. He didn't say it. He went to find a replacement. If I can't sacrifice Yitzchak, then let me sacrifice something. Because I want to do the Dvar Hashem. I may have told you this story before, but I think it fits in so nicely with what happens on Rosh Hashanah for us. There was a teacher teaching a class in Chumash, and they was teaching the story of Yosef HaTzadik. And he had in the class a very weak student called Daniel, and he always slept in the back of this. You always have these kids that aren't quite with the class. Good. So they were learning about Yosef, and when he reveals himself, he says, "Ani Yosef, ha'od avichai? Is my father still alive?" So the Rebbe asked the question, what do you mean? The brothers just told him that he was alive. They talked about his being alive. They talked about how can we come back without Benjamin. They said, our father will he knew he was alive. How come he said, how Dobichai? So all of a sudden, Daniel wakes up, raises his hand. He wants to say an answer. And he says, I know. He wanted to know, is my father still alive? So, of course, all the kids in the class started laughing. But the Rebbe understood exactly what he was saying. Because, you see, he came from a broken home. And he had no relationship with his father. And he wanted to know, does my father still think about me? Amazing, amazing man. is my father. Now that's exactly what's happening on Rosh Hashanah, except in the reverse. And the reverse is like this. On Rosh Hashanah, we identify ourselves as the people of Hashem. And of course, the Jewish people are Hashem's people. But are they his people? Do they care about him? Does he play a role in their lives? We have to know who we are. We are Hashem's people. And no matter what, with all the pain and all the difficulty and all the politics and all the bad that we see as bad, we are still Hashem's people. You know, in davening at Ma'ariv, I don't know if any of you daven Ma'ariv, but if you daven Ma'ariv, it says, Emunah calls also Kayim Eloheinu K'atahu Hashem Elokim. Yeah, Va'anachnu Yisro Ein Zulosoi. There's no one else, nothing else. Ve'anu Amcha Yisrael. Nachnu Am Mariso. What does it say? It's saying, wake up. Hashem is Hashem. He controls the world. But don't forget who you are. You are his nation. You have to show that you care about him. You are Am Mariso, and you need him, and you want him. Are we really ready to accept that we can't know why Hashem does what he does? And it's not easy, don't get me wrong. It's very painful. It's hard to know what the benefit is and what the goal is and why the pain and so on. But we have the legacy of Avraham Avinu. The one thing a Jew should not ask is why. Why? Why? I don't know. Somebody, I always tell this to people. Why did God do this? And why did God do that? And I would say, when anybody asks me why God, I go tilt. You know what tilt is? It's with those pinball machines. You don't have it anymore. It's a pinball machine. Remember the pinball machines? You pull the thing, and then, but if you wanted it to go into the hole, and so you start shaking the table, and of course it goes tilt, and then you can't move it anymore, and it's all over. I go tilt. I can't move. I can't. Why? You expect me to answer you why God? You can't answer why God. But what you can answer is whatever it is, it's the right thing, and it's the good thing. So, let's get back to Elul. Let's use these days. Days of Chodesh Elul are so very special. And we have to take advantage of these days. This is what Elul is all about. Don't let it pass by and then wake up. It's Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it's all over. Our lives are complicated. We're constantly being tested. And we have very difficult challenges. Many circumstances happen that we can't navigate, are having difficulty navigate. We're not, I remember what Elul was like in the yeshiva. When I was in yeshiva, man, it was inspiring. Oh, you listen to Rabbi Daven, it was like, we're not there anymore. We're not. And we're not not in seminary anymore, not in yeshiva anymore, and we don't get this uplifting kind of an emotional experience. However, at least when we're standing and we're talking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we're talking and we're davening, whenever it is in Elul, and every other time too, but specifically in Elul, when we're davening, we should concentrate on wanting to achieve that closeness with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's all. I'm talking to you. I'm really talking. You're allowing me to talk to you. So let me express how much I really want to connect to you. So it should be a year, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, that we'll all merit to use all of our abilities and all of our talents to serve Hashem as He wants us to do. And we will all be zocha to a ksiva Torah, good gebench jar, and all of that. But ultimately, that we should be zocha to coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu b'meira b'yom. Looking to you. My pleasure. Oh, yeah, I unmuted. Oh, they're unmuted. Okay. There it is. Let me end it. 1 minute. I'll be with you in a second. I'm trying to end
Thank you
it.
very much.